Now, as we all know, the horror show at Extreme Rules will be taking place this Sunday. But during the course of last night's Monday Night Raw, we learned the horror show will be continuing through to next Monday as well, because the Big Show will be taking on Randy Orton in the Extreme Rules 2013 rematch we all wanted. I can't believe we're finally getting it. But I swear to the WTF moment overlords above my head, above my hairy head, I swear to them, I was seeing things during the course of this week's Monday Night Raw, seeing things I haven't seen for a very long time. So I want you watching this video to comment below and confirm the things I'm going to be talking about during the course of this video actually happened, because I'm not convinced they did. I swear I was tripping balls. Hit the intro. WTF! And before we start, yes, that image there of Eric Bugenhagen, I refuse to call him Rick Bouges, because the name of Rick Bouges, quite frankly, isn't as good as Eric Bugenhagen. But that image there of Eric Bugenhagen is that blurry because he was moving that quick. But how and why is a man as wholesome as Eric Bugenhagen, as lovely as Eric Bugenhagen, as bloody fantastic as Eric Bugenhagen, wearing a Seth Rollins shirt? Who the hell did that to him, you monsters? Now I am confused. I know the shock and horror of it all. I'm never confused, me, never. Now last week on Monday Night Raw, we saw R-Truth run into and bump into and sort of knock over Randy Orton. Randy Orton gets back up, he turns around and says, "Now there, good sir, watch where you tread." But then he helped R-Truth get away from Akira Tozawa and the Ninjas. He hit Akira Tozawa and the Ninjas with the three most devastating letters in directional history: G, P, S. He sent them the wrong way, so he did. But we tuned into this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, and unless something has happened on one of those internet exclusive things WWE like to do from time to time, apparently what I've just said there from last week's Raw meant that Randy Orton had a problem with R-Truth. And that's even though Randy Orton helped R-Truth keep his 24/7 title after R-Truth bumped into him. And I only make this a WTF moment because that there is not a 24/7 title match. When Randy Orton was knocked over by R-Truth and he sent Akira Tozawa the wrong way with the G, P, S. Randy Orton wasn't thinking to himself, bloody hell, I'll send Tozawa one way, keeping R-Truth in that 24/7 title all for me. I want the 24/7 title, me I do. I'm Randy Orton, Mr. 24/7. So yeah, I'm just asking where the problem is there, really. And then we have MVP claiming that Dolph Ziggler took an unemployed bum called Daddy Drew McIntyre and made him the WWE champion. And I only make this a WTF moment because, as we all know, Daddy Drew McIntyre had been inside NXT. NXT is a person. What? He'd been on the NXT roster for close to a year before Dolph Ziggler brought him up to the main roster, before he was paired with Dolph Ziggler on the main roster. And of course I get it, heels spinning the truth, making it fit their own bollocks narrative, but there's no doubt about it, when Triple H heard that sentence blot out of MVP's mouth, I reckon Triple H would have lost his bananas. MVP, I will kill you for slandering NXT, Foley. And as we all know, everybody, Triple H is married to Lady Balls herself, and as we all know, you cannot make Lady Balls look weak on WWE TV and get away with it. So MVP making NXT look weak is making Triple H look weak, and by association is making Lady Balls look weak. So MVP, you are going to lose your P when Lady Balls castrates ye. Tweddle maths. Now, when Zelina Vega was bigging up Andrade and Angel Garza by saying that along with Randy Orton, the awesome trio of Randy Orton, Angel Garza and Andrade took down the Big Show, I almost vomited in my mouth. Yes, the Big Show is massive, and Andrade and Angel Garza in comparison are not quite so massive. But for Zelina Vega, I know she's a heel, but for Zelina Vega to brag about a 3-on-1 against the Big Show, the star of Netflix's hit show, The Big Show Show, here in the year of 2020. Come on, man, Zelina. The Vega boys are better than that, man. The pair of them should be wrestling rings around the Big Show here in the year of 2020, making the Big Show a very dizzy boy indeed. And then we have Eric of the Viking Raiders claiming that the Viking Raiders have been the most dominant tag team on Monday Night Raw for the last year. And I don't know about you at home, but when I heard that line there from Eric, I was going through shades of Zach Galifianakis, that long name he has, the man from The Hangover. I was a bit like this, so I was. Carpool Karaoke says, hello, you dicks. And somebody spanked me. I thought she was dead. And I do not care about the really random friendship between Ruby Riott and Bianca Belair that, as far as I can see, which isn't very far at all, has not been referenced at all on WWE TV. That's not the issue at hand here. The real issue here is the question of where the piss in hell has Bianca Belair been? It's one of the most baffling main roster debut stretches for somebody as talented as that in the history of WWE, surely. And I've seen the reports. She's been kept to one side while the bollocks between the Viking Prophet Raider Streets, that's their tag team tandem names, isn't it? While all that bollocks was going on, WWE did not want somebody like Bianca Belair associated with crap like that. But that begs the question, WWE, why bring her up when there's no plans for her? Why not go back to your old ways of doing things by booking your end first and working your way backwards to bring yourselves forwards again? Why not do that, man? It just makes no sense, does it? And even though she didn't really do anything whatsoever to contribute towards the win, a win's a win for Ruby Riott, and a win for Ruby Riott inside the squared circle of the WWE ring is potentially the biggest WTF moment of 2020 so far. Weird things have happened this year, but not more weirder than Ruby Riott winning a wrestling match. Now, I make this such a monumental WTF moment, and brace yourselves, everybody. If you're not sat down, sit down right now, because Ruby Riott's last televised win came on February the 11th, 2019, when she beat Nikki Cross on Monday Night Raw. I'm shocked myself, even though I wrote that down earlier. And I know, of course, Ruby Riott had spent a considerable amount of time on the injury shelf, but some more twaddle maths has told me that coming into last night's match, Ruby Riott had lost or been on the losing end of her last 20 WWE matches. And before you go back and check it, that does include WrestleMania 35's Battle Royal and 2020's Elimination Chamber, but still, woof, that's ugly. But also the very definition of arse backwards, because Ruby Riott, she's got it all. What they're doing with her. But while it was nice to see Bianca Belair on the telly and Ruby Riott pick up a win inside a WWE wrestling ring, it was also very weird and a WTF moment in its own right, even more so than it already was. I'm just saying this because over the past few weeks, WWE looked to have been building up the IIconics as a proper dominant poo house heel team. But last night's Raw rolls around and the IIconics are the team who are getting beat by an unofficial tag team of Bianca Belair and Ruby Riott. And call me a bastard all you want, but in my books, a proper tag team should always be beating a not proper tag team, especially a tag team who WWE over the past month or so have been building up. And of course, this match was simply put on to showcase how fantastic Bianca Belair was. And yes, maybe if Liv Morgan was the tag team partner of Ruby Riott, that win there for Ruby Riott's team would have made more sense. But in the process of building up Bianca Belair, they have knocked down once again the IIconics, in my humble and hackish and uninformed opinion. That shot there is the WTF moment. R-Truth is the most normal thing in that picture there. How? Kevin Rudolph still makes music? And as we all know, my arse is already red raw thanks to the spanking I got at the sight of Bianca Belair, but somebody needs to call my mama once again because spank me once again. I thought she was dead as well. I wonder if Dude Love says that for everybody he hasn't seen for some time. May the 12th it was when Shayna Baszler had her last televised WWE match, that nonsensical submissions match against Natalya, and that is a bloody long time ago. But forget about how she's been criminally misused so far on Monday Night Raw. She's back, and that's a good thing. But you already knew that. Will she be used like she should be? Doubtful. Should we worry about that right now? No, it's good to see Shayna Baszler, and she was throwing bodies round like there was no tomorrow, and that's a good thing. There's a little bit of hope there, a little bit. And then we have a WTF moment courtesy of a direct quote from one Tom Phillips himself when he said the choice of Rey Mysterio was beyond disturbing but appropriate considering this rivalry, when he was speaking about that absolute bollocks, which also could be fantastic in the worst way possible. At this sister, the horror thing on Sunday. And then we have a direct quote from Seth Rollins himself, which is also a WTF moment. Who would have thought it? On this video of all videos, when Seth Rollins said, "We are at a point where I'm competing in a match at Extreme Rules where the only way to win is to pluck your opponent's eyeball from it." Socket. That's a sentence that came out of Seth Rollins' mouth, and that's a sentence that came out of Seth Rollins' mouth while the rest of Seth Rollins' face remained straight. How he said that sentence with a straight face is beyond anybody's something. What is going on? Now, as we all saw, before Seth Rollins went to the ring during last night's Raw, he spoke to Murphy. I know he said buddy there, it's just Murphy. Seth Rollins was saying to Murphy, "Buddy." No, he didn't, Ross. "Murphy, you stay here and focus on your match with Aleister Black." But after all the promos and Kevin Owens and Ronald Mysterious and all of that malarkey, Buddy Murphy and I've called him Buddy again. Murphy and Aleister Black have their match, and Tom Phillips says this is an impromptu bout. Seth Rollins really is the Messiah. He can see into the future. Now, the sight of recently deceased 71-year-old Ric Flair in the face of this global pandemic is not a WTF moment this week here on the WTF Moments, because last week I looked at the comments section on the Raw WTF Moments video, and a dickhead called Michael Newcomb told me to mind my own business when it came to Ric Flair. So at this time, I would like to personally apologise to Michael Newcomb for being concerned about the health and well-being of someone so prominent in the wrestling world. I will stop bothering Ric Flair with my concern. The real WTF moment here, of course, is Ric Flair using his phone like this, and it is absolutely fantastic. How he gets anything done, I have no idea. And I guess the WTF moment is twofold right here, because as we all saw, Ric Flair's finger was doing that, and it has to be a WTF moment that it wasn't doing that, because he, of course, is the Nature Boy. Ow! But also during the course of this week's Monday Night Raw that took place during the year that is 2020, we had Ric Flair explaining to The Big Show that The Big Show has excellent coordination. That's a thing that happened. Now, as we've all seen over the past few weeks with everything that's gone on with the United States title and the Intercontinental title over on SmackDown, WWE have been really petty by glossing over Dean Ambrose / Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho when running through the lineage of both title belts. But look at that there! They actually acknowledged AEW's Jack, that no good Snake Roberts. Wow! Thank you, WWE, for finally being the bigger man. Well done. And how dare Ric Flair gloss over the lineage of K-Quick, of all former WWE superstars of WWE's illustrious past. 2 decades you've been R-Truth, said Tricky Dicky right to the face of R-Truth, who didn't put him right because he's such a wholesome and well-mannered man. But that's even though, of course, we all know that 2 decades ago, R-Truth was K-Quick and he was alongside Road Doggy Dog. And as we all know, their iconic theme 2 decades ago kicked off with the lyric, "Oh, you didn't know." In this case, Ric Flair, who didn't know about K-Quick 2 decades ago. "Oh, you didn't know, you better call somebody." The D-O-double-G and K-Quick were getting rowdy. Go on, yeah. So after we saw Ricochet do a standing shooting star press, we heard Tom Phillips on commentary say that Ricochet thinks of things nobody else on this planet could do. Now call me an old man all you want, but isn't a standing shooting star press and professional wrestling moves of that ilk a thing a young whippersnapper learns on day one of wrestling training here in the year of 2020? It goes super kick, it goes tope suicida, it goes standing shooting star press. Hang on there a second there. I guess standing shooting star press might be on day 2, of course, because that third slot on day 1 of wrestling training must go to the no cell. I'm an old man. Dom in the corner of Ray, but where's Buddy? It really does look like Ronald Mysterious does not want to get done, so he's gone and he's got Dom. Fans of BBC One here in the UK will know what that means, but if I was Seth Rollins and I wanted to even the odds, I would actually go out and get Dominic Littlewood, because Dominic Littlewood, he would slap around Dominic Mysterio for days, fam. For days, and it wouldn't move a hair on his head. He'd be that composed. And in that moment there, slow motion, Bayley was absolutely fantastic. Right there in that moment, it looks like Bayley is trying to get Sasha Banks out of the Asuka lock, yet despite being in a different postal code altogether, somehow, someway, Kairi Sane still gets there and spears Bayley right out of a haircut, which is better than mine. But that's it for your WTF moments from this week's episode of Monday Night Raw. Again, I need you to confirm that some of the things, Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, a win for Ruby Riott, I need you to confirm those things actually happened, because they are too weird, even for this year, the year of 2020. I have been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic.com.